Mr. Treasurer, I can see you must be very busy. Thanks for finding the time to fit us in.
Very busy indeed, Chris. I've just come from working on the cabinet tree. There's always the possibility of ripping out the existing one and installing a brand new cabinet, if it gives us too much trouble.
You seem to have developed quite the passion for this new renovation philosophy.
Yes, I have actually. My obsession began shortly after I inherited the place. I saw what the previous owners had done and thought, I can really let myself loose on this.
So they had already started with some plans that you could work from?
They had completed stage 1 and 2, but now it's ours. We're thinking about scrapping stage 3 and coming up with something a bit more aesthetically appealing than the original concept.
So not a complete demolition, more of a refurbish?
That's exactly how renovating works. You slap a new coat of paint on the bits that were already there and functioning, but you get to claim all the credit when you present it as something new.
But you're also talking about some major new foundation work. There's been quite a bit of discussion around some significant remodelling of the ATO.
Oh no, we won't be doing that, Chris. It's heritage listed.
Oh, so you aren't touching the ATO?
No, we're thinking about renovating accountants instead, to make them look like the ATO.
So if you go to your accountant's office, you won't be able to tell the difference?
That's the idea, yeah.
What about the RBA?
We also have to be careful when working with that.
Heritage listed as well?
Exactly.
So what designs do you have in mind?
We're actually more interested in the landscaping there. Lots of trees and vines with deep roots.
Don't all those roots running everywhere weaken structural integrity and independence?
Long term, they cause all sorts of damage. But the lovely gardens should catch the eye and stop you from focusing on all the underlying decay.
Do you worry that when you undertake all of these projects at once, you risk hurting yourself? That cabinet might give you a splinter, for example.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I probably have thrown caution to the wind, pursuing my newfound love of zhuzhing.
How would you deal with a hypothetical splinter?
Well, if there's one thing I've learned from my time on the tools, you never try to squeeze it out directly. That results in it breaking into smaller factions that are even harder to remove.
So how should you deal with it?
You poke around with something sharp. Then, if you wait a bit, it gets agitated and comes to the surface all on its own. If you're lucky, you can pluck the little troublemaker out relatively painlessly.
Final question, Mr. Treasurer. How are you going to pay for all of this? The costs always tend to blow out on the big jobs.
We're not too worried about that. If it gets out of control, we can just flog what we have to new owners and they can start their own restoration process. That's the beauty of it. Today's mistakes are tomorrow's renovator's delight.
But
Sorry, Chris, I'm going to have to go. I've got the plumbers arriving in 5. You know, for a place housing so few people, we do generate a surprisingly large amount of, well, let's just say we don't want the pipes backing up.
Treasurer Chalmers, thanks for joining me.